basic framework is it's a matter of identity, right? Because once you lock in the identity, the action mirrors that. The mistake people make is like, okay, one day I want to be okay. So yeah, when I get there, then I'll start wearing a suit. When I get there, then we'll have, you're emphasizing the distance, you're emphasizing the lack. Do you get? But if you wake up and say, oh, I am a wealthy person, I am a healthy person, I am a blessed person, I stand by the importance of having your spouse have some sort of visibility in the business. Doesn't necessarily mean pull her from where she's working and
Welcome to another edition of Mindset Profits. I am back and I'm excited that the African tour is finally shaping up. It's getting to happen. I have Tendai Luwo in studio. I was supposed to go to Zim to interview you, but you're here, so
you're welcome anytime, brother. You're welcome anytime.
A very wise man who's sharing some really, really cool and deep insights on TikTok. And if I had to summarize my encounter with his content, is showing people that success in business and in life generally is about winning the game psychologically, winning the inner game before you win the outer game. Mr. Tendai, how are you?
I'm well, and how are you doing? How are things?
Superman. Talk to us about what you do. Do a high-level deep dive of your bio.
It feels like a like a job interview.
No. Don't even worry about it. Just a summary for context, because we're gonna do a deep dive into something that you shared, where people are not performing well in business because they haven't healed. I think that's how you put it.
Yeah. I think that's one of the things that plays.
Depending on your level of healing, or your business will struggle depending on your level of healing. When someone hears that, they think you are a psychiatrist or something.
Yeah, well, far from a psychiatrist, but have seen one or two in my time. So my name is Tendai Luwo. I'm just a young guy who's passionate about growing, businesses, helping organizations transform and become everything that they're meant to be. I think over the years, I've encountered so many companies where there's so much more left in the tank, right? And they just need to find what it takes to unlock what that next level looks like. So essentially, I'm a consultant who helps companies maximize on what's possible.
How much of your work is in SA versus Zim? I know you work in both countries.
So we're actually all over. We've got clients in Kenya, Nigeria, Ireland.
Okay, I was limiting you.
It's not. No, it's not. I think the nature of business, it's a global enterprise. It doesn't matter where you're based. You likely are facing the same challenges. You'd be surprised.
You are doing work in Africa.
Yeah, beyond Africa. Yeah.
Jeez. Mm-hmm. Okay, how was the start to getting there like?
I'd be lying to you if I said there was a strategy and a formula. I think a lot of it has been grace. Some of the people, when I look at how those opportunities came about, it purely was grace. That being said, there's certain things throughout the journey that have been done to help it, right? So I'm a big proponent of just being visible on LinkedIn. In fact, from a social media perspective, I started on LinkedIn.
Okay.
I've been writing on LinkedIn for maybe 3 or 4 years. That in itself opened quite a lot of doors, particularly from an international perspective. But beyond that, to be very honest with you, I think it was just a lot of grace and favor.
What do you think was making it work? The LinkedIn work, the writing? Were you a good writer, or you were good with strategy around LinkedIn and how LinkedIn works?
So when I started on LinkedIn, I followed a lot of the YouTube advice, right? Trying to do, let's say, infographics or data or this and that. And that wasn't working. It's only when I said, okay, who is naturally me? How do I speak? How do I talk to people? And that's what I incorporated in my writing. I've always been a writer, so it was a lot easier to do written content. But if you go on my LinkedIn, I talk just the same way I'll talk to you now. Like I'm not writing this business document, and it's just a conversation. I call it water cooler conversations, the type of chat you'd have at the reception when you bumped into a colleague. That's how I approach my content, and people really resonated with that.
Before we do the deep dive into what we're talking about, your success reflecting your level of healing, I'm just curious about one small little thing. Where does the on-screen presence, like the talent for speaking, come? Because you have a really commanding presence and you articulate yourself really, really well.
Thank you.
You are good.
Thank you. I have to give credit to my mother. My mom was
This is all mom.
well, I mean, both my parents played important roles, but different roles. So my mother was very big on the arts. So from the time I was probably 5 or 6, she made it a point to take me to the theater, to take me to the plays, to take me to pantomimes. So I've always been exposed to and participated in culture and arts, right? So I did a lot of plays, a lot of theaters. When I was older, I did public speaking, debate. So those are the things where she probably didn't know, and I didn't know at the time that it would then eventually
Lead
get us
to
to
content.
this point where, I feel a little bit more comfortable creating
Do you
content.
remember what the intention was at the time that she was doing it?
I think it was just a function of pouring herself into motherhood and doing what she could do with what she knew. She enjoys reading, she enjoys arts and culture. So it was just exposing me to what she knew. I don't think there was a bigger picture or plan. If it was up to her, I'd be a doctor. So that's the one thing. I think I disappointed her a bit in that regard. She still said, you're not too old to go back to medical school. I'm
Even
like,
now, when she sees you
even now,
cranking it on TikTok.
she's like, but maybe you can be an optometrist or something. There's something you
Still
can
a
try
chance,
out. Yeah.
You're young enough to go back.
Yeah. It's not too late.
All right, bro. Tell us about the story. What the story of the client that disappointed you? Maybe for context, you could start there.
Yeah. So it's an interesting one. I've always been scared of flying, and I think I have a natural inclination to go too far. So because I was scared of flying, I started watching air crash investigations. I wanted to know, okay, why do these planes fall out of the sky?
Like amplify your fear.
Yeah, right. If you're scared of snakes, they say you must hold a snake. So because of that, I investigated and I realized, I actually love this aviation. I wonder what it would be like to fly for myself. So when I first told my wife, she was like, "You're mad. We've got children. Don't bring these funny ideas here. Stop it." But eventually she was like, "Oh, okay, fine, cool. You know what? For your birthday, I'll get you an introductory flight and you can see if you love this thing." Now, the thing with that is where you buy those type of packages, you can go and sort of see, okay, this flight school, that flight school. And there was this school where they got a lot of positive reviews for the flight, but bad reviews for their administration, right? So it was sort of then a debate. She booked the ticket. I think she maybe didn't even look at the reviews, but when I got the gift, I was like, let me investigate
And check who these people are.
who these people are. I mean, they're holding my life. So I see the reviews. I'm like, okay, let's see. And true to form, we did the experience. I loved it. Afterwards, I'm now waiting. Hey, so I'm just following up. Where's the video footage? Where's the pictures? Yeah, no, by next week you'll have them. Okay. Yeah, no, by next week. Yeah, no, you see, the thing is, this happened. And it just, kept going on and on. But as an entrepreneur myself, I've made those same mistakes, right? I've gone through seasons where I could have treated my clients better. I could have handled situations better. So when it was happening to me, I was like, okay, what if he's going through what I went through before I healed? What if he's going through what I went through before I knew how to deal with anxiety, or before I became confident to say, hey, I can't do this right now, or I don't have capacity, or can I offer you a refund because there were all these things where I was weighing it. I'm like, okay, maybe he just doesn't know better. Maybe he doesn't realize that, he has this.
So for
challenge.
you, this was healing not having happened for the person, not incompetence.
Yes.
Because your mind could have gone there.
I think it's always best to not assume malice. I think it's very easy when people make mistakes to assume that they were trying to harm us or hurt us. But if you offer them the same grace that we are offered, you realize that maybe they just don't know better. Maybe they're still learning. Maybe they're still growing. So that's how I chose to look at the situation.
How did you come to the decision to not go and give them a bad review?
I think a lot of business owners are struggling enough as it is. So unless I can confidently attribute your shortcomings to, intentionally trying to do me wrong, it doesn't help your business if I add on to that fire, right? Inversely, if you happen to go on Google, there's a guy who used to service my car, and it did get to a point where I was like, okay, now this guy, you're taking me for granted, right? Right? And so I went to Google and I said, okay, this is what he's done. I think he's sabotaging my car. So it's not like I'll never leave a bad review, but I'm not going to rush to leave it unless I'm 100% sure that you intentionally did me wrong.
Did you reach out to the person eventually?
So no, I didn't. Interestingly enough, that video did better than I expected because I was literally just venting at that time, right? And I think he saw it because within 48 hours I had my footage. So if you go onto my socials, the footage of me flying is there. Yeah.
Oh, so that's where the footage is coming from.
That's where the footage came from.
You had a powerful caption on one of them. You said, be your ancestors' biggest dream, something like that.
Yeah, become your ancestors' wildest dreams.
Wildest dream.
Yeah.
Oh, so that was the footage.
That was the footage, yeah.
All right, do a deep dive on that. Become your ancestors' wildest dream. What was the intention there?
So I didn't come up with that. It's something I've also seen somewhere along, the internet. But I think it just speaks to the importance of going above and beyond the previous generation, right? My grandmother, God bless her soul, she's since passed on. But if she knew that, her grandson was now flying a plane or he speaks to people on TikTok, whatever, she'd be like, oh my gosh, this is insane.
And doing
right?
work across the continent.
Yeah. Like, wow, So it's just that philosophy that our parents, our grandparents do so much to lay these foundations. I believe a lot of them do the best they can with what they know, right? And that then forms the base for us to then go the next level and the next level and the next level.
Also, the challenge you're giving to the person listening is just you take the button and up the game.
Correct, yeah.
Raise the standards. All right, so the success in business, success in life being down to your level of healing, where did you pick that up from? Is it an observation looking at your own life or something you learned along the way?
So most of the content I create is notes to self, right? It's me saying either I want to remember this further down the road or I want to remind myself how much I've learned. So when I speak about healing, it's me speaking to myself to say, yes, I had this ability to consult and help companies, but it was always stifled by a whole lot of stuff, right? It could be the fact that a lot of Black entrepreneurs, we are first or second generation entrepreneurs. So that means there's a limit to the knowledge and insights we have. We have a much smaller pool of mentors to tap into. I know situations in our family where someone reached a certain level of success, but there's no malume, there's no uncle to be like, okay, I'm now here, what do I do next, right? So you're like, okay, do I buy more cars? Do I buy a bigger house? There's these things where we don't know. We're also the first one to get there, So that is part of the healing. It's what are the traumas? What are the misconceptions? What is the misinformation that I have that I need to resolve? And hopefully it'll allow me to then access the next level.
Good. I am happy that you went there. If we look at the continent, if you look at the Africans, I know you've traveled quite a bit. What do you think is holding a lot of Africans in general back? I know it's many things, but what are the top things that come to mind when you think about this? Because I want us to help as many people in the continent as we can to shift their mindset and see the possibility of where they are.
So you need to look at, there's institutional challenges and there's psychological challenges, right? So if we look at institutional challenges, I think the biggest hurdle above all else is simply funding. I have a friend who's in Australia, and he was sharing how he was able just to go to the government and say, "Hey, I'm thinking of doing this," and he got $50,000 as a grant. It wasn't even. It was like, "Oh, okay, that sounds interesting. Here's money, give it a try." And it didn't work out, but no one was like, "Okay, now your house is going. The bank is coming to take your card." No, it was like, the system is built to allow people to experiment. We don't have that luxury here. If your business fails, you're screwed, right? You're screwed. You're blacklisted. You got one shot to make this work, and that's it. So that's the institutional challenge we face. Just not enough funding and capital. Psychologically, I would say we have the belief that you'll blow up. So by that I mean we haven't been conditioned to believe in the gradual growth of a business. If you look at the conversations we'd have as kids, like, "Yo, when I win the lotto, I'm going to do this," right? Or when I get that tender, I'm going to buy this. Like we always think in quantum leaps. I'm going to be broke today, and tomorrow something amazing is going to happen, and I'll be great. When you realize that the average business needs 7 to 10 years to come right, someone goes, "Yo, okay, like that's a long time."
Yeah.
So I think those are the two biggest hurdles: understanding the institutional structures that might hold you back, and then trying to navigate around that, and then understanding the psychological mindsets that might be preventing you from doing the hard work, not giving up too early, building systems and structures, and also tailoring stuff to the African environment. There's so much business advice. You've got books behind you,
Yeah.
but that advice is Eurocentric. It's Western. You'll read a Rich Dad, Poor Dad, which has some gems,
That you could use, yeah.
It's American gems. it's European gems, and the African environment is unique in that regard.
Do you think this is coming from us having seen examples of people that blow up?
Yes, because a lot of times we see the context at the point of destination or the point of arrival, right? So you will see a Dangote, you'll see a Strife Masiwa, you'll see a Johan Rupert or whatever, right? But very seldom do you understand the full context of the journey, right? Very seldom do you understand what steps that person took. It's why for me personally, I read less business books and I read autobiographies. So my favorite is always Shoe Dog by Phil Knight, right? Because Shoe Dog is an 18-year journey before Nike became what we know as Nike. So it's 18 years of him struggling, looking for money, being on the brink of losing his business. Those are the stories and narratives that we need a lot more of.
Also, I think we can see the examples, but they can be deceiving because these people don't document their journey.
Either a lot of African journeys are not yet documented, or when it's spoken about in the media, it's someone who's arrived. Now I'm interviewing you because you're successful, and I'm talking about your success. I'm not talking about your journey.
The process.
The process, yeah.
You're actually giving me an idea because if you're saying that journeys are not documented and the 15-minute interviews that they get, they are summarizing so much. We lack context when we hear. Maybe we just listen for inspiration. I think we need to do more to tell the African stories and the process.
Yes.
And the journey.
Yes. And to your point, I believe one of my videos I speak about, we don't need more inspiration, we need more information. That I think is one of our biggest
What's
hurdles.
the difference for you when you say that?
So inspiration, it's not that it's not important, but inspiration is mindset, feelings. Oh, you can do it, Okay, yes, I can do it, but how do I then do it? I recently did a video speaking about it's not your job to be affordable, right? That if you are running a business, there's this fallacy that, okay, how do I become more affordable so Ntando can afford what I'm saying? No. If Ntando can't afford, Ntando must hang 10 until he can afford. But let me go and find the people who can afford, and it sounds rude, But that is actually how you grow a business. Unless you are intentionally trying to build a mass market enterprise, and unless you are intentionally trying to build, something that services let's say the lower LSMs, you shouldn't be out there just trying to be affordable, because that's a race to the bottom. So that's an example of information. It's not going to feel nice when I say it, but at least hopefully you've learned something to apply in your company.
All right, wonderful. So in the two places that we're talking to, the growth of just people in Africa and the healing, let's talk to how does someone move from step 1 to 2 and 3 when they listen to you and feel, okay, maybe things are not going well in business because I haven't had my healing. Where do I go? What does fixing this kind of situation look like?
Go and see a professional. If you've got flu, if you've got an ailment, what you go to the doctor, right? You don't.
Is that what you did?
Yes. I'm a big advocate for seeing professional therapists, because there's so much under the surface that is a function of our upbringing, our environment, our programming, that you are not even aware that, okay, I had this mentality, I had this mindset. I've had a business coach, I've had a therapist, I've had a psychologist. I firmly believe in, if you've got R1 left, spend that R1 on seeing a professional.
And getting yourself healing. What did you see change in how you did business after therapy?
Scarcity mindset is probably the biggest one, right? That I definitely operated from a place of scarcity, a place of fear. Also, sometimes even just issues like self-worth, right? That if you don't believe you're worthy of a successful business, you can't grow a successful business, right? So those are some of the things that seeing professionals helped me unpack and then start to heal.
Did it help you with a sense of worthiness? Did you feel and see it change and increase?
So the worth was there, but it was hidden, right? So it's not like I had to grow a sense of self-worth. It was there, but it was just being overtaken or, pushed down by other dynamics. But yes, it did help me have a little bit more
I
self-confidence.
think I remember you talking about that, and you were saying it reflects in the standards that people have for work they do. Sometimes if you don't believe you are worthy to have a successful business, it shows up in your struggle with pricing. It can show up in your struggle with quality, in your struggle with branding, because you don't believe you are worthy of a successful business.
Yes. And I think anyone here can give you an example of someone who came to your house or someone you dealt with, and you're like, okay, fine, so how much is it? I can give you an example. There's a handyman who was fixing something in our home, and I was like, oh, okay, fine, so how much for this? And he gives me a figure, and I'm like, Chief, like, I'm going to give you double that, because there's no way you're doing work this good for that much, right? But in his mind, that's what he's worthy of, right? That's what he believes, okay, I'm only worth this. Inversely, you look at, some of the people who have a higher sense of self-worth. So let's look at Maklosa as an example, right? They charge thousands for their apparel. Why? Because he has such a high sense of value and perception and self-worth in what he's doing, and the gift of his hands. It's like, okay, look, to honor what I'm doing, this is the price that honors what I'm doing, and it's worked out for him, right? He could have easily said, oh, this is a 400 Rand golf shirt, but no, it's 5,000, and it's worth that.
I'm curious though, practically, what did the difference look like in terms of scarcity mindset for you? Because you see, the first thing that came to mind when I said what changed after therapy, you said scarcity mindset. What were you doing before?
I'll tell you one of the biggest mistakes I used to do before.
Yeah.
I used to try and find the cheapest employee I could find.
Yo, that can be costly.
Right? So it was like, oh, okay, okay, we don't make a lot or whatever. So who's the cheapest? Okay, you young person, come here. Oh, you cousin, come here. Or, you just want to hire whoever is cheap, right? And it's got nothing to do with them. I just didn't believe I was worthy of the best in the industry, right? But now I have that confidence to be like, oh, okay, cool. Who's the best strategist? Who's the best graphic designer? Who's the best videographer? Okay. How much they cost? Oh, okay. Maybe I don't have the budget for that now. But from the budget that I do have, who is the absolute best person I can get?
Someone called that poverty tax. The tax that people don't see, the invisible poverty tax, the tax you don't see and the cost you don't see that poverty brings. When you are broke, the way you search on the internet is free consultant for this, free resource for this. And what you don't realize is what that attracts your way. When you have some liquidity, you are searching, like you're saying, the best of that, the best employee in this, the best marketer to this, and that attracts a different set of outcomes. Poverty comes with a very steep tax.
Yes, but I would warn against waiting for things to come right to start changing the mindset. So by that I mean, even before things came right, my wife and I would go for walks in fancy neighborhoods, right?
Okay.
Before things came right, I would work at expensive hotels, expensive restaurants. It might just be a cup of coffee. It might be, the cheapest thing they have on the menu, but you need to expose yourself to those environments. You need to...
You really did that?
Yes, 100%.
Go and work in hotels for the day?
Yes, yeah. And say, okay, cool. Like, how much is a Coke here? Okay, cool.
I can afford this.
I can afford this, right? Because there's a part of it where if you make it feel far away, it's a lot harder to achieve. But if you socialize or shape the mind where you're like, no, this is who I am. I remember going into the Land Rover dealership maybe, 8 years ago?
Yeah.
And being like, oh yeah, can I sit in this? I mean, the sales rep hated it. He could tell that this guy doesn't have money, And I was like, no, I'm just, okay, I think maybe in 3 or 6 months I'll be back, whatever. I wasn't even close to it, right? But eventually we got to that point because I was just like, okay, no, I'm going to...
So your principle there was, I'm making successful closer and not far.
Yeah. I'm going to tell you something crazy,
Yeah.
right? And I've never said this before, but at the time when I used to drive the car I had, when I was driving it from street to street, I would make the car sounds of the car that I wanted. So I'd be there literally like a kid going... It sounds... I'm a bit embarrassed that I'm sharing it, but I promise you, because I needed my mind to feel like we're already there. Because when you operate like, one day I will, then you're emphasizing the distance, you're emphasizing the lack. Do you get? But if you wake up and say, oh, I am a wealthy person, I am a healthy person, I am a blessed person,
How would that look if I wanted to start a business? It's easy to make car sounds, but if my dream is success in business, what would I be doing?
So let me explain the framework behind it.
Okay.
The basic framework is it's a matter of identity, right? Because once you lock in the identity, the action mirrors that. So if you say, I want to build a successful business, from the time you wake up, what is the identity of a successful business owner? They're probably waking up early. They probably check what they eat. They're probably going to dress a certain way. They're probably going to talk and engage a certain way. Even if you only have 2 employees now, you're going to have systems, structures, SOPs, processes.
Be in certain events.
You're going to operate and move like a large business owner. The mistake people make is like, okay, one day I want to be, okay, so yeah, when I get there, then I'll start wearing a suit. When I get there, then we'll have, documents for... No. You start now. I give the example of 2009, I made Black Coffee, right?
Okay.
Then when you met him, he arrived at the event early. So it was our university event, right? And we were part of the organizing committee. He arrived early. He carried himself with a professionalism that I had never seen at that time, right?
Okay.
The crazy thing is, I then met him again in 2017, and we were in Ibiza, right?
Yeah.
The way he carried himself in '09 and the way he carried himself in 2017 was the exact same. The same professionalism, the same demeanor, the same aura of, I am a global international artist. In '09, he wasn't anywhere near as big as he became, 8 years later. But he moved with that intentionality, with that self-confidence, with that perception and belief that this is who I am. Reality might not yet have caught up, but this is who I am. And that's what I'm then trying to emphasize, that solve for the identity, because it will then guide you on the actions you need to take.
Which is powerful. I think what I've seen as well in business in general and coaching entrepreneurs, there is growth that comes to a business and to a business owner. And the level of professionalism that level now requires, that wasn't there when the business was smaller, but that doesn't come. So the professionalism doesn't grow with the entrepreneur, and it suffocates them later.
Yes.
Growth starts killing them.
Yes. You become overwhelmed by the business. Yeah.
Yeah, because I've had a client that wanted to shut a business because it grew, I think, over 200% in a space of a year, monthly revenue. But what that caused was hiring fast, new systems, a lot of mistakes, client complaints, reputation down the drain, nasty calls coming through. And she was saying, I need to shut this thing down.
Yeah.
Because it grew.
Yeah. There was a season, if you'd allow me to get a bit spiritual, but there was a season where I was tussling with God to be like, but dude, I'm seeing flames here. Like, why are you doing this to me? And the awakening or the word in that moment was, but if I give you what you're saying you want, can you actually handle it? If this thing grows the way you're saying, I want this thing to be as big as Accenture or whatever it is. I want to be a global consultancy. Do you have global consultancy structures? Do you? Do you know what I'm saying? I always say, you want to be Beyonce, but can you do the Beyonce work, right? Can you put in the hours the way
behind the scenes?
Yeah,
because you see on stage, there is a lot of hours before the stage.
Yeah. So
and a lot of systems and a lot of structures as well.
100%. Yeah. So you can't risk. Don't be out here praying for exponential growth before you're ready to receive it. Sometimes there's a blessing in the delay.
Okay. All right. So I think there's a post you took out about introducing your wife to a business. We met Puluko and he was mentioning it as well.
Yeah.
What was your thinking there? And would you say the same thing now after the comments?
Yes, I stand by that. I stand by the importance of having your spouse have some sort of visibility in the business. It doesn't necessarily mean pull her from where she's working and make her your employee, no. But give her an admin role, and a light admin role, right? We live in a society where our wives also have their own careers, their own pursuits. So I'm not saying overwhelm her and burden her with stuff. But the minute you give her a bit of exposure, you reduce the tension in the home. Because what often happens is entrepreneurship is hard. And it doesn't stop being hard. We've been in this journey for well over 10 years. And it's not like there aren't problems on an often basis. But because there's visibility, if I'm stressed, if I'm a little bit quiet this week, if, I'm not my usual jovial self, it's not a mystery. No one is saying, hey, let's just stay this side of the house. It's like, no. Okay, maybe because that deal has fallen through, or, I see client X has delayed to pay. It's okay, don't worry, I understand. We'll sort out that bill when they come through. Or is there anything you want me to help with? Actually, I know, Mang, why don't you? It's that thing of you're not an island, right? So the best thing you could do for yourself is get the missus in the business.
Is that where you're coming from? What about those that commented and said, what if I have someone who will come into the business and be toxic to the culture? Or someone who comes into the business and overspend? Or someone who comes into the business and starts commanding me? I introduce a new boss.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
So
then these problems I carry home, and the problems at home I end up carrying to the business.
I would say we all know our people, right? So if you know your person, then you know where to put them and where to keep them away. If your wife is going to overspend, then keep her away from the books, right? Then, but even then, if your wife is overspending, if that is the issue, then there's probably like a bigger conversation that needs to be had, right? Then there's a conversation around, are we aligned mentally around our financial goals? So before it's even her coming into the business, maybe you guys have a bigger issue you need to discuss. Someone was like, oh yeah, but my wife is not interested,
In the
right?
business, yeah.
In the business. Again, go and seek professional help. Why isn't she interested? Is it something that happened when you first started, where you alienated her? Has she tried to give you advice before and you criticized her? So now she's actually protecting herself. You find a lot of times it's a symptom of a bigger cause. It's a symptom of a bigger issue. But for the most part, I would say 70-80% of the feedback was, you know what? I brought my wife into this thing and things changed. I brought my wife in and we're so happy now. I brought my wife in and we've been able to grow 10x our revenue. So most of the feedback for that video was positive.
Yeah, I did see. What does growth in Africa look like now? Because you, and I guess with you it's global, but what does growth out of the country that you're in look like?
I think that's a great question. I think growth in Africa starts with African solutions for African problems. So first and foremost, one of the big things I've seen is we've been seduced by the allure of Western things, right? So it's not to say there's anything wrong with AI, but I see some of the solutions. I'm like, I'm building this AI thing that does, and I'm like, yeah, but we still have basic issues like delivery, right? Like, okay, if someone orders a package and they stay in rural Eastern Cape, how do you get that package to them? We actually haven't solved some of those very basic things. So I think growth looks like having a deep understanding of what are the real world problems Africans are facing. You know, a simple thing, there's no holistic solution for people to find the right taxi.
Okay.
I don't know if there's programs here, websites there, some have come, some have gone, but there's no central, oh, this is the number one repository to go. This is the Google Maps. Think of it in that way. This is the Google Maps for public transport navigation, whether you're in South Africa, Zimbabwe, Zambia, or whatever. You know, like I was in Zambia last year. And it's sort of hard. Like, you know, who do you speak to if I need to catch a combi, right? We don't have that. Where is the Google Maps
Public transport
for logistics? I think that's where the exponential growth lies. How do you solve real world problems?
Okay. What can people look forward to when it comes to you? And who should follow you?
Okay. I'll start with who should follow me. I think that's a difficult one to answer because my inclination is to say, don't follow me, follow Jesus, follow God.
Okay, let me be specific. On social media.
who should follow me? No, and I say that because a lot of the stuff I say is not new. It's stuff you can find in the Bible. It's stuff you can find in all these other books. So it's really not about me. That being said, I think anyone who believes their business could be bigger, anyone who believes their life could be bigger, anyone who believes there's room to be better, I'm hoping that I can serve them and share the little that I know and what I'm learning along the journey.
Okay.
In terms of what people can expect, so one of the things we've worked on is we've built an assessment tool. So, you know, we've been consulting for 10
Okay.
years, and we've taken all that knowledge and built a tool for business owners to assess themselves. So even you don't have to work with us to figure out what's going wrong, right? So
it's a diagnostic tool.
it's a diagnostic tool, right?
Okay. Is it free?
It's a free tool. You can find it on brandmaturityindex.com.
They won't have to search foul.
You put it on the like you point down here
in the description of this video.
Yeah, so we've built that tool, and it just allows people to assess that. Oh, okay, cool. These are some of the vulnerabilities in my business. This is how brand is serving or not serving my company, and it gives a few tips on what someone can do. If they think they can't fix it themselves, then we're always there to help out.
Does it help me if I'm trying to decide whether or not I'm an entrepreneur? Like I've got a business idea, but there's a job opportunity here. Or if I want to start a business, I'm ready to start. Does the assessment help me?
No. So, and it doesn't help for two reasons. One, so we are what's called a brand-led growth and transformation consultancy. So our core belief is that you can grow and transform your business existing business by improving your brand. And the reason why we believe that is there's something called the quality gap, right? So if you closed your eyes and I put on a pair of sneakers and I asked you, did I put on a pair of Nike or did I put on a pair of Adidas? You wouldn't be able to tell me, right?
Yeah.
Why? Because the gap between quality has closed, right? So you have a Shure microphone, but there's a Rode microphone that's just as good.
It is.
So the average consumer has a lot of options. And so the only thing that they can choose on is brand. So that's why we believe if you can improve your brand, you can most likely improve your rate of growth and transform the performance of your business. So that's the angle we took with that diagnostic tool.
Is that the same as well? Same advice you'd give to someone building a personal brand? Because you spoke for a business brand.
Yes, it does also resonate with personal brands. In fact, if anything, if you don't have a personal brand in 2026, you are holding yourself back. And understand that a personal brand is not you being famous. There's this assumption that personal brand means I need to be the next Kim Kardashian. No. All you are is a lighthouse in your particular industry and niche saying, look over there, right? So there are people on TikTok who have 5,000 followers.
Yeah.
But it's a loyal community of 5,000 people who trust and believe in them as the authoritative voice on their subject matter.
And they transact.
And
And that applies to across all platforms, really.
100%. I mean, if let's do you watch soccer?
Yeah.
Right? There is not a single soccer club that has more followers than the equivalent soccer player. So like you have like a Cristiano Ronaldo, right?
Yeah.
Who has billions of followers. There's no club, even though these clubs have been around for decades, that have a following that rivals a Cristiano or a Messi or a
There's
Mbappe.
a number of them, yeah.
Do you know what I'm saying? Why? Because personal brands. Tim Cook has a bigger following than Apple. Why? Personal brands. Humans interact with humans, not with brands.
So this is the best time for someone to build their personal brand. Do you
100%.
I think, as we wrap, this just came to mind. Would it be the same advice you give to someone who's close to retirement? I have a selfish reason for asking. There's many people that follow the channel and they have said, it's late in my career and I didn't do what I needed to be doing. So I feel like I'm behind in life. And because retirement is like right by the door, I need a solution.
Yes. So interestingly enough, one of my clients is 63, 62, 63. So he's, a couple of years away from retirement. And the conversation I had with him, I said, with modern medicine, you probably have at least 20 more years left on this earth, maybe 25, right? Maybe even 30, right? And so you need to think from the context of you're going to be around for a lot longer. And with the way cost of living is going, your retirement might not even be enough for what you want to do. However, if we look the other way, you've got 40 years of experience doing what you've been doing. Why not take that and build a personal brand? So if we look at Professor Zhang, right? So he runs a YouTube channel called, I think it's called Predictive History. All he is a teacher. He's a high school teacher. And all he does is he records his lectures. But he has 1 million, if not more, followers on his YouTube. Why? Because people are also hungry for information. They're hungry for knowledge. So if you've been a teacher, why don't you do an account for sharing what you've learned as a teacher? If you've been a nurse and you're about to retire, you have so much knowledge about health, right? I'm trying to lose weight. A nurse could probably tell me that, hey, Baba, that pap you've been having every night,
It will land.
yeah, it will land, right? Why? Because she feels like my mom. Maybe I resonate with how she looks. Maybe I like how she talks. There's someone out there who's waiting for you to share your message. So why not start now?
Do you think the stuff you did on LinkedIn still works? The articles and without putting your face? Because I know there are people who have anxiety around their face on a camera.
Yeah. So my LinkedIn is probably 90% faceless. It's purely just thoughts and insights. And it works because the people on LinkedIn are primed to receiving information. When someone goes onto LinkedIn, they're going with the mindset of, what am I going to learn today? What am I going to discover today? So it works. LinkedIn might not be the platform for, let's say, a nurse. Maybe her platform is YouTube. But even then, there's tons of faceless accounts where it's just someone illustrating or drawing. Or, and I was talking to my wife about this, you could simply use an AI twin, right? That's where we're going. So
AI avatar.
yes, right? So all you do is you upload a couple of pictures of yourself into a platform like HeyGen. HeyGen, creates a realistic version of you, and you use 11 labs to record your voice, and that then becomes the face version of you. After that, you don't have to record anything ever again. So there's ways. If you really want to solve that problem, there's ways to navigate it.
I saw a UK creator actually that had a trending grandma that was giving advice on herbs. I saw the trending grandma, and the views were in the millions, like 13, 15 million per video. And he made a lot of money and a lot of sales until I think TikTok was banning that account or something for... Even he doesn't understand why it was being banned. But the good thing is he created a couple of other ones. And what shocked me was people are buying because they are getting advice from a grandma. They know the grandma is AI, to discover that the creator is in his 20s and it's a young man.
Yeah.
What made you buy was a grandma?
Yes. Yeah. Why? Because we trust old people, right? If you saw an old lady saying, "Oh yeah, this is the most amazing honey," you're like, "Oh no, ukokwam shame. Let me support." So yeah, I think there's room for everyone, and also there's the myth that you need tons of followers, or the myth that there's too many creators out there. I think everyone has their niche. There's room. Do you know that only 1% of the people on LinkedIn create content?
Is it?
Only 1%. If you are posting on your LinkedIn, you're part of the 1%. So
the game is open.
There's far more space than people believe.
There's a question you didn't answer fully. I know you answered in part. What can we look forward to when it comes to you?
So yeah, the platform is one of the big ones, but above all else, I think I'm committed to doing a lot more serving, right? By that I mean, at least getting a podcast out there, getting a little bit more long form video.
Okay.
I think the thing with TikTok is it's great, but it's usually 90 seconds, 3 minutes max, give or take. And I think that's far too short to share some of the depth that these topics require. So a lot more long form content, and a book. Definitely a book this year.
You will do well at it. You are good at this.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
I wish you all the best, bro.
Thank you, man. Likewise. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. And thank you for being there still this time. Let us know what you think. We will put the link to the platform in the comments if you're an entrepreneur and you want to assess yourself and your business. Good place to check. See you in the next episode. And thanks again.